Those lines are carrying 500,000 volts of live electricity right now, and you just parked your helicopter 3 inches away from them, on purpose, while a man hangs from your landing skid, touching the live wire with his bare hands. You are a heli-lineman pilot, the person responsible for one of the most precise, most dangerous, and pay very close attention to this number one of the highest paying jobs that has ever existed in aviation. $600,000 a year. To hover a helicopter inches from live electrical lines, carrying enough voltage to vaporize everything within 30 feet. Today, that pilot is you. And your hands better not shake. Here is a number that changes how you think about electricity forever. The United States has over 160,000 miles of high-voltage transmission lines. Every single mile needs to be inspected, maintained, and repaired on a regular basis. Most of those lines never go offline. The infrastructure cost of shutting down a major transmission line rerouting power, lost generation revenue, customer compensation can run into millions of dollars per hour. So the power companies made a decision that sounds insane until you look at the economics. Keep the lines live and send people to work on them anyway. Live line work working on energized high-voltage lines without de-energizing them has been practiced since the 1960s. What changed in the modern era is the helicopter. Instead of linemen climbing towers and working from platforms, a helicopter hovers directly next to the live line. A specially trained lineman sits on the skid or in a chair attached to the helicopter, reaches out, and works on the line directly. The helicopter becomes a flying work platform that can access any point on any line anywhere in any terrain. The pilot's job: hold the helicopter in a fixed position, sometimes inches from a live line for extended periods. In varying wind conditions, while a person hangs off the side doing precision electrical work, if the pilot drifts too close, the rotor blade contacts the line. If the pilot drifts too far, the lineman loses their work position. The acceptable margin of error is measured in inches. For this, $600,000 a year, sometimes more. It's 5:30 a.m. somewhere in the Colorado Rockies. Today's job: a 1-2-mile section of 345,000-volt transmission line running through terrain so remote the only way to reach it is by air. Your lineman, the person whose life literally depends on your hands, staying steady for the next 8 hours, walks over and hands you a weather printout. Wind, 8 to 12 knots, gusting to 18. Mountain terrain creates unpredictable turbulence. You look at the numbers, nod. The briefing takes 12 minutes. You cover the terrain, the line geometry, the approach angles for each tower section, the emergency procedures, and the wind abort criteria, the specific gust threshold at which you will immediately pull back from the line and reassess. Today, that number is 25 knots. Above that, the precision margin disappears. You run through emergency procedures twice. Not because you expect to need them. Because in this job, the people who survive long careers are the ones who never stop treating emergency procedures as relevant. The flight to the first worksite takes 11 minutes. In that time, you transition from the relaxed version of yourself that drinks coffee and talks weather to the focused version that processes wind, rotor wash, line proximity, and lineman position simultaneously every single second. The two versions of you look identical from the outside. Inside, they are completely different people. The approach to a live line has a specific protocol that never varies regardless of how many times you have done it. First, you establish your reference points. 2 fixed visual markers, one on each side of the helicopter, that tell you exactly where you are in space relative to the line. A rock formation, a specific tower bolt, anything fixed and unambiguous. These become your spatial anchors for the entire work period. Second, you make your initial hover approach to within 10 feet of the line. Hold it there. Feel the air. You need to feel those effects at a safe distance before you get any closer. Third, you communicate. Your lineman tells you when they're ready. You confirm your reference points are solid. You confirm your abort criteria. Then and only then do you begin the final approach. At 3 inches, something happens that veteran heli-lineman pilots describe consistently: time slows down. Not metaphorically. Your brain, running at maximum processing capacity, starts experiencing events at a different subjective pace. Details you wouldn't normally notice become vivid. The exact tension in the control stick, the precise sound of the rotor, the lineman's breathing through the intercom. This is not fear. Fear makes your hands shake. This is the opposite of fear, a state of such complete focus that your nervous system has temporarily deprioritized everything except the task. Some pilots describe it as the best feeling they've ever experienced in an aircraft. Some describe it as the most terrifying. Most say it's both, simultaneously, every single time. The work itself, the electrical work your lineman is doing, takes between 8 and 40 minutes per tower section, depending on what needs to be done. During that entire period, you do not look at what they're doing. You look at your reference points, you feel the controls, you monitor the wind. People ask heli-lineman pilots if they're scared of the electricity. The honest answer, no. The electricity is your lineman's problem. They have the training, the insulating equipment, and the specific expertise to manage it safely. Your problem is geometry. Your problem is staying exactly where you need to be for exactly as long as it takes. At minute 12, a gust hits from the northwest. Not enough to abort 19 knots below your 25-knot threshold. Your lineman keeps working. They didn't feel it. This is the part of the job that takes years to build. Not the courage to hover next to 500,000 volts. That's a decision you make once, the first time, and either you can handle it or you can't. The skill is the physical precision. Your lineman completes the section at minute 28. Signals clear. Only then do you breathe differently. You have 11 more tower sections to complete today. You drink some water, check your fuel, move to the next position. Let's talk about the money. Because this is the part of this job that genuinely does not seem real until you see the numbers laid out. First, context. A commercial airline captain at a major carrier, one of the best paid regular aviation jobs that exists, earns between $200,000 and $350,000 per year after decades of experience. That is an excellent salary for an extraordinarily skilled profession. Entry-level heli-lineman pilots, the ones who have just qualified for live line work after completing the specific training program, start at $120,000 to $180,000 per year. That is their entry point, the floor, before they've completed a single full season. Mid-level pilots with 3 to 5 years of live line experience, $200,000 to $350,000, matching that airline captain ceiling at the midpoint of their career. Senior specialist pilots with a decade or more of live line hours, trusted for the most complex transmission work in the most difficult terrain, $400,000 to $600,000 annually. That hazard premium alone, paid for every minute you're in close proximity position, can add $50,000 to $150,000 to your annual compensation on top of your base. The math works like this. A senior pilot doing 400 live line hours per year at a $200 per hour hazard rate earns $80,000 in hazard pay alone. Add that to a $350,000 base, and you're at $430,000 before bonuses, benefits, or contract premiums for remote location work. Their nervous system refuses. The ones who pass describe the same first successful approach consistently. They expected to feel terrified. Instead, they felt completely, almost unnervingly calm. And they knew in that moment that this was exactly what they were supposed to be doing. Each one requires the same complete focus as the first. Each one has the same consequences if you get it wrong. The pilots who build full careers in this work describe a specific relationship with that reality. Not denial, they know exactly what happens if they drift those 3 inches in the wrong direction. Not fear, fear would make the job impossible. Something closer to respect. The lines are always live. The margin is always 3 inches. The pay is always extraordinary. Your hands are always steady.